Good evening and welcome to the Congo Funeral Home. I am your host, Wayna Dobson, and this evening we have a loaded show. So we apologize if we go through our interviews quickly. Must be ready for Sammy's Corner at 8:30. So right now, I'm going to go right straight to my first interview with Karen Walden Stewart. Welcome back to the Congo Hour.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Oh, wait a minute. Before I apologize, I went and stole Trippy's sign off of off of 24th and Market and brought mine. So I meant to tell Miss C if anybody called saying somebody was taking a sign, it was me. So that's the only sign I've taken. I'm not into taking signs. So all right, welcome back.
Thank you.
How's it been going?
It's been going good.
Really?
We've been really busy at the insurance department.
Okay.
We were in the press a lot this week because we were able to come up with the money to save the education programs for the doctors and dentists and veterinaries. Some $2 million my department was able to give to help with the state budget because the state budget was short.
Oh, so
And
you
they
gave
come up-
money to the state. That's
I
what you said.
did.
Okay.
In fact, I don't think people realize that the insurance department doesn't receive any state funds whatsoever. So the taxpayers don't pay for the insurance department. I'm the first commissioner that hasn't received any taxpayers' money. In fact, we've given over $500 million to the state. We're a revenue generator for the state of Delaware.
Okay. So you're up for re-election.
I am, and we have been an advocator for the policyholder. We have made insurance companies give $12 million to policyholders that have had claims that have called my office. I've levied fines against insurance companies, $5.7 million that have disobeyed our laws. And from life insurance companies and annuities, we've recovered $146 million for Delaware beneficiaries that they would not otherwise have received, even though the insurance company knew they were the beneficiaries. Yeah,
So wait.
we went after them.
So how did you know to go after them?
Well, we got wind of it through the National Association of Insurance Commissioners that all of us insurance commissioners belong to, all the states and the territories and the District of Columbia. We started hearing from the Commissioner of Florida was catching that the insurance companies were using from Social Security what they call the death master list, and they were using it to look up who had died and to cut off sending any funds that would have been due that person because they're no longer living. But they didn't take it to the other side to make sure that beneficiaries got paid the death benefits. And they may not have known there was a death benefit. And as you know, as I said last time, we've put in place a tool so that we can look up policies. If you have someone who's deceased, you may not know if they have a policy or where that policy might be because the insurance company might have changed names several times. So we do have a free tool that we use to
That's
help you
definitely
find
a lifesaver.
It's great.
Yeah.
You can go online and get the information, get the forms, because you have to mail them in.
Okay. So why should someone re-elect you in?
Well, I think I've proven that I've stood up to insurance companies. We've gotten some of the largest fines that have ever been levied against insurance companies. We've recovered more money than any commissioner before for the policyholders. I've gotten over 50 pieces of legislation through the legislature for policyholders, and we have been a very strong advocate and for policyholders, and we've done a lot under my administration, and there's more to do.
Okay. All right. So you want them to
Vote on September 13th. I'm in a primary, and please vote for me, Karen Walden Stewart. I've enjoyed serving you. It's the field I've trained for. I have over 25 years experience in protecting policyholders and making sure they get paid for their claims.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you
you.
so very much. I
welcome.
wish you the best.
Thank you.
Not going to take a break. We're going to go over to Studio C for Sherry's segment.
Good evening. I'm Sherry Dorsey Walker, City Councilwoman in the 6th District, and really excited to be here. Thank you very much to the Congo Hour for having me. I'm also running for Lieutenant Governor for the state of Delaware, and I'd like to share with you why I decided to make this decision, this big decision, to run for Lieutenant Governor. I can tell you about education, criminal justice, job creation, and environmental justice, but I really need to talk to you about my heart. I have a heart for God's people, for all people. And for me, it's important to serve. It's a greater anointing on the one who serves, and that's in the Word. And after much supplication and prayer and talking to my pastor as well as to my family, we sat down and we really discussed the importance of serving at a higher level. So for me, this is not about power, privilege, and prestige. This is about the most important P, you, the people. So I ask you to elect me as your Lieutenant Governor on September the 13th. There are many reasons why we need new leadership in this state. We have good people serving, but we also need people who will put the people first. So yes, we shall be focusing on education, criminal justice, job creation, and environmental justice. Environmental justice because a lot of times we think about the air, the land, and the water, but we never think about when our children wake up and see vacant properties. That does not say hope. Then those same children are sent into the educational system, those hopeless children, and everyone gets blamed in education when our children aren't succeeding. But we, the community, need to do a better job of taking care of our babies. Then those same children end up touching the criminal justice system through the juvenile justice system, through HB 85, which is House Bill 85, that sends our children from the schoolhouse to the jailhouse. After that, they're not ready for job creation. So we need to turn that whole train around and right this ship so that our children have opportunities abounding. So I'm asking you to elect me as your Lieutenant Governor so that together we win. And may God bless you. May God bless our city, our county, and our state.
Welcome back to the Congo Hour. Now we're going to interview Mr. Kevin Kelly. Welcome to the Congo Hour.
Nice to meet you. Busy set here tonight, huh?
Yes,
It's okay.
we're going to make it happen.
It's a good thing. That's
All
a good
right.
thing.
Well,
Tis the season.
Yes, it definitely is the season. All right, so welcome to the show.
Nice to be here.
Let's talk about, I'm going to start off with what you're running for. What is it that you're running for?
I'm running for the mayor of the city of Wilmington, the most sought-after seat in the state of Delaware.
Next to at large, I think.
Next to at large with yourself. I think you have almost as many candidates as we do.
I believe so.
But you have 3 you can pick from.
Right, exactly.
That's right.
All right, so what made you decide to run for mayor?
Well, you know, for many folks that are out there, I ran last time unsuccessful, and many of the promises that were supposed to happen by the current mayor did not occur. So the main reason, you know, if I'm running is to say, you know, our city's in crisis. Our seniors don't feel safe. Our young people lack opportunities for advancement. We're losing a generation to violence. We have a city government that doesn't work well. So we've got to come in and change the way we police and have police in neighborhoods where people get to know them and understand them. You have to have some accountability at the top for what happens in City Hall. It's too easy not to take responsibility for what happens. You know, when you call, you get run around. But we have to find more opportunities for our young people. You know, I was a product of basketball that kept me out of trouble, but young people are a little different now. They like using video, they like producing, they like sports, but how do we engage them? You know, so they're not the victim of violence nor committing the violence. And there are a lot of gangs we have in the city. You have to have the city hall run better. I would propose a 311 system. You'd call one number and get a response. We track what you do. And we have to crack down on vacant houses. When you have a good running city government, work better with the county and the state, we're going to create some jobs to make it a place for people to come to live and work. Right now, I don't think there's a lot of incentive for people to be in the city. And I'm hoping to change that.
Okay. What's your viewpoint on community policing?
Well, you know, there's a lot of different variations of community policing, and I've been proposing community policing for years. This square is your neighborhood, this rug. The same police are going to walk around and talk and interact with you and not have these social media blips where you see an officer giving out ice cream or playing with a young person. They're going to do that day in and day out. They're going to stay there. You're going to have people interact, but more importantly, we're going to work with the police, L&I, the neighborhood planning councils, the churches and schools to determine what's the best public safety plan for each neighborhood. Because each one's a little different. The east side's different from where I live at. And the neighbors need to sit down. We have to have the police accountable. We have to use some data, for what goes on. You shouldn't have to go on Facebook to find out what's going on in your neighborhood. You should be able to go online and find out information. But officers in neighborhoods, and we have to train them a little bit better. We've got to get back better relationships between ourselves and the police. We need them, they need us, but at times we're very far distant from each other.
Okay. And how do you see your role with City Council?
Well, listen, I came from City Council, so there's going to be new council members like yourself who are going to be on there, a new council president, 4 new council members. So you're going to need a mayor that's going to be able to come in and work with City Council. The current mayor spent the first year arguing with the council president council. You just can't get along that way. We all have a job to do. We're out to make the city better and make residents feel good about the city and working together. We may have some differences behind closed doors, but I don't forget where I came from. I was on that side of the hall for 20 years.
Okay. All right. So what would be the first thing that you would want to change if you win?
It's really the culture of the city. We got to change the culture of the police department to make them more engaging with people. The workers of the city are great folks. We need to have them better trained and be respectful of everybody, but it all comes down to public safety. We've got to have community policing, more opportunities for our young people, start holding these landlords accountable for these vacant houses that you and I see when we go out through this whole city, and make city government work better. You're not going to have to come to the 9th floor to see me. You'll see me in your neighborhood all the time. I would propose opening City Hall on Wednesday nights so you don't have to worry about getting a $45 parking ticket while you're going in to pay your water bill that you can't pay online. So some of those things to see what happens. But sitting down with neighbors and everybody to find out what's the best path.
Okay. You mentioned the youth. One of the things that I would like to do when I become on City Council is have more summer jobs for our youth. And not only during the summer, but some kind of program that they can either co-op or after school. So what do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea. We've got to work better with the business community. Right now, they're not as engaged. I would propose having a youth advocate position for city government, and he or she would work on creating summer jobs and more employment. How do we have the churches do more mentoring for young people and help them? Listen, I, with Mayor Sills, started safe haven programs a long time ago at nighttime. Youth intervention workers with Rashid long ago, and I walked with them. We have to have a comprehensive plan for our young people. As if the recent news journal said, remember, of all the shootings in the city, 25% are occurring to young people under teenagers. And the number 1 killer of a teenager in the city is homicide. We're not in a third world country. We've got to protect ourselves. And there are a lot of gang activity, and some people, we've got to say, you know what, we're going to do everything to save you. Here's the good door, here's the bad door. We want you to go here. But it starts with education, and that's what it's all about.
Right. Now, I know there's plenty of youth advocate programs out there, but this weekend I had the opportunity to, be the mistress of ceremony at Duffy's Evening of Hope, and to the basketball game on yesterday. And there was a young lady there who actually, she attends my church, and she was hooked on marijuana. She was just really out there, and a program like Duffy's Hope made her realize that she had a greater potential than what she was doing. And now she applied to every college that she applied to, because she wasn't doing well. She got accepted.
Good.
And today she received, I think it was like $5,000 scholarship to go to college. So
when I was on City Council, I had the 6th District Community Service Scholarship for almost 20 years. On City Council, we create the scholarships. But Duffy's Hope is a perfect example of a program that works well. So where we have a well-run program, let's use it. What we have in the city are a lot of people who have good ideas about young people, but we need to have the correct vision. I would propose we have a bus that would loop through the city to take young people from center to center. If you're a mother and your son's got to walk to say People's Settlement, and you live on the east side, you're very reluctant to let them walk there, whatever that may be. If we have a bus, then that bus can pick them up by your house, drop them off, and bring them home. Or even get some of these folks out there with the Ubers to donate their time. But you know, it's got to change that, make the city safer, stronger, and united. There's a lot of dissension in the city, you know, divide and conquer. You see that going all over. But our young people are our future, and we've got to put more attention to them. Otherwise, we're losing a generation to violence, and they're not getting the education that they rightly deserve.
Okay, so for the next 30 seconds, you can look into your camera and tell the audience why they should vote for Kevin Kelly.
To everyone out there, the mayor's race is probably the most challenging position in the state of Delaware. I've been in the city practically my whole life. I've moved more than 3 blocks in 58 years. I've been in every neighborhood in the city. I have a background in finances, politics, government, and I am the person that's going to bring this city together because we have a lot of issues that need to be addressed, and we need a mayor who's a leader, who understands the financial backgrounds, the city government, how it works, and more importantly, our neighborhoods, to make our seniors safer, our individuals have better education for their children, and their families safer. With that, I would ask you for your vote on September 13th. I'm the best candidate.
All right, thank you so very
Oh,
much.
thank
for
you
coming
very
on.
much.
All right, going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Congo Hour, and Miss Patty from Terry Apartment. I received your voice message. Thank you so very much. I will drop off a t-shirt for you, I promise. Okay, so I'm going to do community news. I do apologize. Unfortunately, when I went to go get the funeral announcements, the system had crashed. So I don't think we'll be doing funeral announcements this week, but I'm going to do community news. Please join us for a screening of Makers Women in Politics with Lisa Blunt Rochester, followed by a panel discussion on advancing the role of women in politics. It's going to be held this Wednesday, August the 10th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Theater Inn at Nemours, which is 1007 North Orange Street. And seating is limited. There will be light refreshments. Please call 607-8366 to RSVP. Once again, that's 607-8368, and it's going to be Wednesday, August the 10th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Theater Inn at Nemours. Also, we have Praise God, Shiloh Baptist Church, 141st Church Anniversary Celebration, Inspiration of Praise, which will be held on Saturday, September 17th at 3 p.m. It's going to be at Shiloh Baptist Church, which is 215 West 23rd Street. Please come and bring friends. Want to say happy birthday to Eben Flagg, Deshauna Briscoe, as well as Mark Surratt. I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Sammy's Corner. Haven't been here for a while, but I'm excited tonight because I've got a great friend, not only to me, but to this whole county. Has demonstrated that he keeps his word, that he loves the county, and has probably done so much for this county that we want to talk about it tonight. The parks, the police protection, the taxes. I'll let Tom talk more about that. But Tom, I won't even introduce you because everybody knows you.
It's good to be
Welcome
back
to the
on
program
Sammy's
tonight.
Corner. It's been a while.
It has been.
And you're so busy all over the place. And they tie you down for 15 minutes. It's very worthy.
Well, I think we got more than 15 minutes tonight. We got
All
a few
right.
more minutes. You know, Tom, I guess I saw the guys from the Longshoremen on today, and every time I see those guys, I think about you and the fact that the one thing people look at crime, they look at the results of crime. They don't look at what causes crime. And crime comes from poverty.
Crime totally comes from poverty. There's a direct correlation between people that have nots, and as low as poverty grows, crime goes up in an indirect rate. And that's what's happened in the city and the county, is we've lost so many jobs over the last 10 years with the trade agreements and the slumping economy since '08. Wilmington is suffering the most, and the county probably the areas around the city. And you know, all these families that their parents worked at GM, Chrysler, the Phoenix Steel, or Avon, or all these other great places that used to pay, all gone. And we had the second highest foreclosure rate in the country. And you know, there's 1,750 empty homes in the city. Everybody's turning into renters, and it's deplorable. But I think the good news is, because of these two gentlemen that you're talking about, longshoremen, who had the idea and the fortitude to push it, I really feel for the first time that there's a plan of Nebraska that can bring the city back. A bunch of things are happening with the governor, and we've got the stock market, and we've got the middle class being taken care of by this large expansion of the Port of Wilmington. It's just exciting right now, but it's still a few months away, but it's exciting that we finally can turn the corner. You make sure that you can present livable wages to a lot of those folks in the city and the county, and they'll work hard, and they'll bring back their house and their cars, and kids will go to college, and we'll cut crime down 90%.
I believe that.
Totally.
I believe that affluent areas suffer little crime, but that crime is based on the poor trying to get it from the rich.
At some point in every society, when you have to feed your family by doing bad things, you're going to do it. And I think we're getting close to that. And the people that are, you know, not working, they tell this wonderful story that the Port Comoco does, and that there's a line there every morning, and there's just no new jobs, and those same people can be seen out trying to sell drugs an hour later because they're trying to make money. And the only livable wage outside the port right now is selling drugs. And you know, everybody's trying to make fun of us. We're so close. We know it's happening. They know it's happening because they've seen the investors now. The investors have come in with literally millions of dollars because it is the #1 port in the country right now in terms of location, the workforce, and the fact that they don't steal. They're good, honest people. A lot of times along different ports you have a theft problem. They have none of that down there. And we have a large group of people we can still employ. And it's beginning to be recognized. And, you know, we're not beating a dead horse. We've been working on it for 3 years with Comoco Harris and Mr. Ash, Vice President, and others down at the port, trying to make real jobs, and hopefully it's happening now.
Tom, why don't you talk to me a little bit about the stock exchange?
The stock exchange is another real thing that my opponent and others are making fun of. And it has been a long time coming. We've been talking about it. They had to go through their final regulation called FINRA. It's being approved as we speak. They're already in 1201 North Market. They're moving into the 8th floor of the Hercules building. And I think it's going to, I know for a fact it's going to bring millions of dollars to the local economy. It's going to bring in 100 and some immediate employees. It's going to bring investors. It's going to bring MSNBC and those kind of people, technology. But it's also going to be opportunities for things in the city like restaurants, laundromats, the things that are the indirect jobs. It's a real thing. It's happening. These guys have a good niche, and it's going to be very successful. And they've stole the stock, and it's fully funded. And I'm told, you know, you're not allowed to say too much because you don't want to make the regulators mad. But they're finalizing the last bit of questions they have to answer, and it's a big thing for Wilmington to have a stock market. It's no small feat.
That's great.
So you take care of keep the lawyers from leaving, keep the rich and, you know, the people that do well, affluent people from leaving the city, and you bring in a middle class with more port jobs, and a city of 72,000 will rebound very fast. You'll see crime drop like a rock, and it's not a pipe dream, as some say. It takes time, and we've been working on it, but it's happening right now.
Some of the things you're doing for families, in fact, with my family. They've experienced your parks, and they spend a night out there, and it's so exciting. They spend a couple nights out there every time you have that.
What we
Can
did
you
was,
explain that to me?
we have 255 small parks, so I went away from that and I built bigger theme parks. Carousel, Rockwood, and Glasgow. Delcastle's been improved. So what happens is we now have a very diverse parks where all of Newcastle County can go for free. And we put enjoyable things there, like at Carousel. They have a petting zoo, a fishing pond, turtle pond, and you can go for hay rides. And same thing, we do a lot of that same stuff at Rockwood. And Glasgow has just taken off. You know, it's got 140,000 people down there, and that thing is crowded every day. When it snows, they're sledding. In the good weather, they're walking. We have a fishing pond we put in there, a dog park. They're hugely successful, and it's a way for families to go. You know, if you can't afford to go away, you can go to one of our parks, have a picnic, take your family, and do things, fishing, or we put a fishing pond at Glasgow. It's really turned out to be bigger than I ever thought, and that's an important thing when you're dealing with quality of life. And we've done the same thing with our libraries. You know, made it so that they're always on the cutting edge. Right? You know, we do a lot of writing contests, writing initiatives, making writing fun. We bring in authors that are very famous, and we pack the halls. But there's a lot of young people, young kids learning, have written books in these libraries, and some of them have won awards. And we're showing that it can be very successful. You know, down on Route 9, we experimented with the best of the best. We took an area that had been passed over for libraries, and we sent our librarians all over the world to come back with ideas to get urban kids interested in science, internet, education, coding. And we brought back the ideas and said, now build a building around this, because we know it'll work, and it's going to be up in a year. It's 43,000 square feet. It's huge, and it's going to be a boom that a whole Route 9. So you can imagine stuff is really taking off down there. With the Port of Wilmington being expanded, with the Innovation Center, that's where you want to live and work. It's going to be, I think it's going to kickstart the economy.
You know, Tom, I've had experiences with police stopping me. And in fact, I was stopped last night by a police officer. But when I get stopped by the county police, there's a kind of step up. I think your program there has really broken down some barriers and sensitivities that you really don't mind getting stopped when you're stopped.
I don't tolerate, you know, abuse of excessive force. I'm lucky to say in 4 years haven't had any, and that's not an accident. We have a good management team out there. They're taught on a midnight shift. They go to classes about excessive force and use of force, and are highly trained. And I think, you know, that's how you teach. You know, from the minute you run into a customer, that's a car stop, you treat them with respect. And I give credit to Joe Bryant, Elmer Setting, Larry Tan, Chief Miller, the managers out there. And they do a great job, but they also know I won't tolerate police brutality or any kind of excessive force that's unwarranted. And they teach to that. And I think it starts at the top. I never had a problem the 8 years I was chief, or the 8 years I was executive. And now this last 4 year, I want to knock on wood, we haven't had, you don't hear the kind of things that were going on. And it's a tough workforce out there, and there's a lot of crime, and with crime goes, the officers make a split-second decision. Sometimes it costs them their life, and sometimes they overreact. But we're not perfect, but it's difficult to be a police officer these days, and I think the Delaware as a whole does pretty good.
I think you've got a story yourself, Tom. Tell us a little bit more about you and why someone should vote for you.
Well, I think this is going to be my last time, but I do believe that I understand the economy. I was born and raised in Wilmington, which I'm very, partial to, because I recognize that it is the corporate capital of Delaware. I'm going to come out with a report very soon that shows that if you live in Newcastle County, Wilmington, you're probably paying 6 times the taxes of the rest of the county. Did you know that we send $60 million a year to Kent and Sussex for equalization, which I don't know what that means.
How many?
60 million. It is like a little dirty secret, and it's got to stop. I mean, Wilmington should be able to have its own school, its own high school. We're sending 60 million to Kent and Sussex, and they have a very good tax base. And what happened, I think it happened over the years where the city used to really supply money for the rest of the state because there wasn't anybody. And then in the 60s, the county grew, and it was the county and the city that then funded the rest of the state. Well, as Kent and Sussex grew, I think they continued to live off the state with us from Newcastle County supporting most of the programs. But we've uncovered that this equalization means 60 million is going from here to Kent and Sussex when we say the city can't have a school district. I mean, that's a fact. I'm going to show it, and I'm going to fight for Newcastle County and Wilmington. And when you're paying 6 times the amount of taxes, last thing somebody in a city needs with the lights that charge the tax, with the property tax, with the wage tax, with the county tax, with the state tax, with the federal tax. So I wonder, it's 50% untaxable. It's being destroyed. But yet the corporations are here that we're making the money from. You have to enjoy all the stress that comes with the traffic and the pollution, but yet that money's shared equally, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. It's something that I'm going to concentrate hard on, because I think the last thing we need to do, and I think the state's teed up to give us more services to raise our taxes. And I think the last thing we need to do in the city or the county is raise taxes. And I've always been against it, and now I'm being attacked that the county executive filed me, I broke him because he had to raise taxes. I think it had something to do with the housing market crashing. But I'm very proud of the fact that I manage a government and don't raise taxes. And I start out with how much we make, and I spend whatever I need, but not past that. But the people in the county and the city can't afford taxes right now. I'm looking at the median income's dropping, the wages, we're the last in wages, and that's important. And when people are doing good and they're getting raises at work, they can afford to have a tax increase. But right now, when you got a high foreclosure rate, you raise taxes, you're putting more people in foreclosure. So, they're going to attack me for that record somehow and try to blemish it. But it is a fact that I don't think anybody, including the schools, should be raising taxes in Newcastle County until we get this market back. And we're going to put out a report that's going to back up what I just told you, and I think we're going to have to deal with it, because it seems to me if we're going to do equalization, it should be in the county, in the city. I think the city ought to have its high school, and this is going to show where the money can come from. And there's good people, very professional, talented people with great credentials that are going to produce it.
You're recognized as the guy who solves all the causes. Everybody's got a cause, they come to you, and they want you to handle it. And I think you do a great job of being sensitive and being able to do something about many things. And we're blessed to have a sensitive person like you.
It comes with being around too long. One of the things that bothers me the most, the drug problem is a health problem. And we're going to start. County police have stopped arresting in some cases. You bring in your needles, you committed a crime. We don't arrest you, we get you beds. It's a beginning of recognizing that we've got to get the prisoners out that are hooked on drugs and in the beds. Save that money. But more importantly, again, there wouldn't be anybody selling drugs if they had other jobs other than McDonald's, where you can make a living, where a kid could make a decent salary during the summer, or a parent could make enough money to buy a house, a car, and send a kid to college. And that's what it's all about. I get really upset when it's a matter of how many more people can be arrested in Wilmington. I always used to tell the mayor, don't fall into that trap that, we could arrest our way out of this. You got to say, where are the jobs? That's the problem. Jobs first, you'll do away with the crime problem. But you're not going to be able to arrest the last 20% that don't have records or something. And yeah, it's bad. The shootings are bad. There's always going to be drugs as long as the poverty rate is increasing like it is. And your your wealth is gained through your house. If you look at the city right now, everybody's, it's all rental, and then you get somebody from the county, slumlord, renting it to someone who is paying what they could buy the house for. You end up with a whole city of renters, the rest empty. It's not going to go well. You can't manage homes, even in the county we see that. You get a high rental rate, it's not a manageable community. Home ownership is very important for the person to gain wealth. They take better care of their house, and they can control their own destiny, how their house looks. And I'm seeing the exact opposite over the last 4 years. And I've been arguing, and we do a great job on the county level. Its county council is very involved in housing, and they would like to. Ken Rose Hollins is in charge of that. He'd like to not have to do that. And the way you not have to do that is what we're going to do on Route 9, what we're going to do in some other areas of the county to generate employment and get our major corporate city back with real jobs, that pay what they call livable wages, about $80,000 a year a person needs to buy a house, and that's kind of unheard of anymore. So we all got to work together on this, and we all got to understand it and not fall into this trap who can bring in more cops to arrest more people, and let's forget about the unemployment the employment needs to go elsewhere to the rest of the county or state. That's not going to work. I think we saw that when we started to lose the DuPont company, which was very serious.
It was a very serious deal, tell me about the schools, the
$60 million. It's called equalization. The principals know it in the county, but they can't talk. They won't talk about it. They want me to do this because it's a fact. When they raise their taxes, the state taxes gets lowered, and then it gets sent to Kent and Sussex for something called equalization. So I don't understand, but I can tell you it's $60 million. And that $60 million will be going in the equalization of Wilmington, who lost its property base, but still have the corporations that are fueling the rest of the state. And I think it's going to be an easy thing to send a copy to every citizen in Newcastle County and say, and they want you to raise your taxes even more. You already have enough taxes. You just can't keep it. And I think this is a fact. What the city and the county could do with $60 million more, we wouldn't have to be fighting over having kids get up at 6:15 in the morning to go to HB DuPont. That's just obscene that we can't have a high school or two in the city. And the kids and the parents in the city know how to raise their kids. And they know how to walk them to school or go to their contest at their own schools if it's not 20 miles away. It happened, we had a housing problem in the 60s where white flight went out in the county, and they all largely bought in the county, and there are deed restrictions about blacks not being allowed. Blacks were kept in the city, and then the property value increased in the county, and then in the 60s, 70s, they had to bust the blacks out because they didn't have any in the county. Well, that destroyed the schools. So now we're in a part where then charter schools started taking off to be resegregation, I think. And that further drained the property tax. So if you have a study that shows that during all this, we actually had enough money in the county to have the city have a couple high schools, it solves the problem. And that's a fact. And the sooner we can get back to that, parents can go to their high school in the city. It's very tough to follow your kid to athletic events when you're 10, 20 miles away. And it's very hard to keep track of them when they're bussed out. I think we could solve a lot of problems, and I think I know the facts are the facts, and I know that a lot of people that run these schools would like these facts to be uncovered. And I think J Street has made a lifetime of fighting this. I think we'll be able to drive this point home very soon.
Do you think that, well, I personally feel that local schools will surely curb crime.
The absence of local schools in the city destroyed a whole family unit. We know that. First came House Bill 85 because they didn't want to do DSEG. And that arrested any kid that did anything wrong. And we had records. And now we have other chances of trying to. But what really needs to be done everybody has a local high school except city. I mean, the facts are very disarming. And then you go, well, they can't afford it. Well, you have lost your tax base. It's been decimated. Every nonprofit is in this city. It's probably 55% now. So you're trying to tax the other 45% with the list of taxes that I told you. And most of that's now renter. So it's not going to work, but I do believe that if you're taxed 6 times the amount of everybody else, that's going to stop, legally or politically, very soon. And I think we need a couple high schools where parents can walk their kid to school, their grandparents can walk them to school, first class, and we don't have to do all this busing, because everybody has a community high school except city. And I don't always want to be acting like I only care about the city. I very much care about the county. I think the county's doing well with the schools. What's missing is, you see the fight that's going on right now with trying to get into Red Clay, with trying to get from full 4 districts to 1 or 2, so the kids have some chances of being together. That's all a result of a failed policy of deseg, and a further failed policy of housing in the 50s and 60s. And it's not popular to talk about that stuff, but I have the facts. I have the newspaper that says where the whites and blacks can live. I have the deed restrictions that say no blacks allowed. That has created the problems we see today to a terrible degree, where I think we've got to grab it quick, get it done, and as I said, people in the city know how to raise their kids, and they can do really well with a couple of high schools.
I've always had a problem with people not recognizing that Wilmington is in the county.
You're not kidding. And I have that problem too. Again, if people realize the amount of money that needs to come out of the corporate capital of the world, and when that fails, and it's starting to, the state's going to fail, and the county's going to fail. You know, having DuPont leave this city was not a good thing. And we're fighting with Commerce right now. That's why I push so hard. The stock market is going to show the first business coming back in a huge scale. And so many people are poo-pooing it, trying to make fun of it. But it's an important for a lot of reasons. It's an important indicator to show that they're willing to invest in the city, and as DuPont's left. And it's going to bring a lot of other industry to the city. That's a fact. And it's like, maybe it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, but it's going to happen before the election's over. Because I know where they are. They got delayed on the federal. Stock market's not an easy thing to bring to a city. There's not very many of them. And this group of talented people have accomplished that. And I saw the pro forma. They've got a good niche. And that niche is going to be good for the city of Wilmington. They like the city of Wilmington. It's close to New York. It's got Amtrak. It's close to Philly. And it's got all these corporate lawyers that we need for creating all these IPs, which are new companies. So you start showing that we're willing to invest in the city, and the county will be healthy, because we need to keep the county, which is also having housing problems. It's also having foreclosure, and they got these new things called these houses that the banks foreclose on, they back off on. They call it zombie houses, and we've got problems in the county, and we work every day. The last thing we can do is raise taxes until we get it healthy again. And I believe we're turning that corner. The governor's working every day. You know, he came in at the beginning of the collapse, and I always tell him, you're not going to be around, I think, to see all the things you got going. But he gets a lot of credit, I think, for managing through a very tough time. And he's got a lot of things that are in the pipeline that I think is going to make it turn the corner. He just may not be the governor to see it, but he's certainly got it going.
If I needed to know why I should vote for you, tell me what I should do.
Well, I'm done after this 4 years. I'm not going to do it again. And I would say that, honestly, you don't want to sound like a politician, but if I have one thing, I have a record. And every year I've been in there, I've created most of the parks in the city, Bancroft. We fund Wilmington, 35th Street, but I built Bancroft. All of the libraries in the county are first class, and I built most of them, whether it's Newark, Glasgow, Tally Day. I can't even name them all. And the one I'm finalizing right now. And the parks. I bought that Glasgow Park back from a developer that was going to develop that 300 acres. Because we had in the past just jammed the development down there and forgot about quality of life. I think the policing have done a fantastic job under my leadership and the management team. So I would say just evaluate me on that, and if you think I failed, you have options. But I'm going to continue that. I'm not going to promise anything, but I'm going to try to revive the economy with my little bit of power that I have as county executive. I'm going to believe in the people of Newcastle County, and the city of Wilmington, Newark, Ellesmere. They're all Newcastle City. They're all part of the county. And we have libraries and fire stations and all that we support. And but a lot of people do forget that Wilmington's part of the county. I have a hard time, convincing people that it is. These parks are your parks. You go to any county park, and we're trying to get, bus trips out of the city for nothing. It's your park. You're paying taxes on it. It's not a county. It's a Newcastle County, and everybody's paying taxes on it. The Rockwood Park is a block out of the city. It's a free park. Go there for a weekend, pitch a tent, enjoy yourself.
Tom, we got about a minute and a half.
I did a lot of talking. I appreciate it.
And I really appreciate you coming on our show, letting folks know that there's great things going on in this county.
And the city.
And the city. And you
the
have
city is
been-
on the way back, and the mayor and the county council city council have also been involved very much and a partner with this board. And I don't want to, it's not me, it's the two people that we had on earlier, that Moko Harris and Mr. Ash, that had this idea, and now they've proven it to be. Everybody now, they're not telling you, but they've got millions of dollars right now to finance it. People want to build ports in Milford, and it's going to be all over. But they broke the ceiling by saying, we don't have to have one port. They can all be state ports, and we don't care. And they have, I think someday they're going to be responsible for bringing an industry back that turned the city around.
Great. Well, we're out of time, and I remember the last time we was doing things, my corner turned into Tom's corner.
Well, if I do a couple more, they'll be saying it's Tommy's corner. But
all right.
that was one that
Thanks
was really
again,
fun.
Tom.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.